The universe is infinite, but life is limited. You don't know, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. My name is Zheng Wuji, and the most incredible story in China that I'm introducing today is a strictly managed time span of several decades. China's widely circulated story of unofficially banned aliens taking humans hostage over the whole of China 3 times. And I myself have been following the development of this matter closely for decades and have been deeply involved in relevant investigations and discussions, proving that this is not a fiction. China's official CCTV only alien abduction incident, acknowledged by. In 2005, the Into Science column of China's official TV station CCTV specially broadcast a mysterious alien abduction of human beings. On July 27, 1977, a strange thing happened in Gao Village, northeast of Feixiang County, Handan City, Hebei Province. 21 Huang Yanqiu, a villager aged 12, suddenly disappeared mysteriously when he was sleeping at night. Just when the whole village searched for him for several days without any results, the village committee suddenly received an urgent telegram saying that Huang Yanqiu was deported on Mengzi Road in Shanghai. The date on the telegram clearly stated that it was July 28, which was the day after Huang Yanqiu disappeared. First of all, what is surprising is that this telegram from the Shanghai repatriation station was sent only 10 hours after Huang Yanqiu disappeared. You must know that Gao Village in the northeast is 1,140 kilometers away from Shanghai. It takes 22 hours to arrive by the fastest train, which is not counting the time taken from the village to the Handan railway station during the process. Moreover, in the middle of Handan and Shanghai at that time, there was a transfer in Zhengzhou, Hunan Province. That is to say, according to the traffic at that time, Huang Yanqiu could not reach such a far place in such a short time. But doubts turned into doubts. The village committee still arranged for someone to go to Shanghai to pick up Huang Yanqiu first. Facing the curiosity of the crowd, Huang Yanqiu, who had returned home safely, spoke out his adventure with confusion. On July 27, 1977, around 10 o'clock in the evening, he went to bed as usual, but when he woke up at dawn the next day, he found himself lying on an unfamiliar street. Just when he was at a loss, Huang Yanqiu found out that he was actually in Nanjing through the words Nanjing XX Restaurant written on a building. And just as he looked around and didn't know what to do, 2 people in police uniforms appeared in front of him, handed him a train ticket from Nanjing to Shanghai, and sent him directly to the train without any explanation. Stand. In this way, Huang Yanqiu took another 4-hour train from Nanjing to Shanghai. However, what he did not expect was that Gao Guomin, Gao Yanjin, and Gao Dengmin, the 2 men in police uniforms who had previously given him the train tickets, actually showed up to pick him up at the exit and sent him directly to the Shanghai Mengzi Road repatriation station. Until later the village sent someone to take him back. However, just as everyone was discussing the matter and distinguishing the truth from the false, Huang Yanqiu mysteriously disappeared again, this time on September 8, more than a month later, and the incident was basically the same as the last time, all in Huang Yanqiu. After Yanqiu fell asleep normally at night, she woke up and found herself directly in another city. The difference is that this time, on the wall of Huang Yanqiu's house, the words, Gao Yanjin Gao Dengmin, Shandong Province, are engraved. Here Huang Yanqiu recounts that when he woke up after 1 o'clock in the morning, he found himself lying on the square of Shanghai railway station, and he was facing in the unfamiliar environment. Huang Yanqiu, who was cold and frightened, thought of Lu Haisheng, a fellow countryman who worked in the Shanghai army. The problem was that although he knew that this fellow was serving in a certain army in Shanghai, He could not recall the specific address or address of the other unit number. And at this time, the two people in police uniforms who appeared in Nanjing last time appeared again. According to Huang Yanqiu's description, this time, the two took him directly to his fellow villager Lu Haisheng in almost the blink of an eye. It must be known that Lu Haisheng's army was about 40 kilometers away from the railway station. You have to change a few buses to get there, and there are sentries standing guard outside the unit. Under the leadership of the two, they came directly to the door of Lu Haisheng's dormitory in the blink of an eye, but the sentinel didn't see them anywhere. In the end, with the help of Lu Haisheng, Huang Yanqiu returned to the village on September 11th, and this time, the mysterious disappearance of Huang Yanqiu was rumored to be more and more evil. Everyone said that he was taken away by ghosts and gods twice, so that the wife who had just engaged with him also broke off the engagement with him because he was afraid of being haunted by evil ghosts. Less than 10 days after the second mysterious disappearance, Huang Yanqiu went missing again mysteriously. Compared with the previous two disappearances, the process of this disappearance was even more bizarre. According to Huang Yanqiu's own description, on September 20th, when he went to the brigade to record the completion points and returned home, it was already more than 10 o'clock in the evening. But the difference was that this time he felt dizzy and lost consciousness as soon as he entered the yard. This time, when he woke up, he found himself lying in a hotel next to two young people who told him that he was in Lanzhou City, Gansu Province, 1,000 kilometers away from Feixiang District. He also said that the two people he met in Nanjing and the two people who sent him to look for fellow villagers in Shanghai were all dressed up by them. Huang Yanqiu's first two disappearances were also specially arranged by them. But this time, I was going to take him out to have a good time with him. After all, the two of them flew into the air with him on their backs that night, and flew directly from Lanzhou to Beijing. We know that the distance from Lanzhou to Beijing is at least 1,200 kilometers, but Huang Yanqiu said they only took 1 hour. In Beijing, Huang Yanqiu also experienced a situation where he went directly to the Chang'an Theater to watch a play without buying a ticket, and the ticket inspectors turned a blind eye to him. And the name of the play, Huang Yanqiu, is still clearly remembered as Forcing Up to Lianshan, which was also confirmed by CCTV's investigation into the science column. During the time period described by Huang Yanqiu, the theater did perform in Forcing Lianshan. After that, the two took him to Changsha, East China Sea, Tianjin Harbin, Changchun Shenyang, Fujian, Nanjing, East China Sea Changsha, Tianjin, Harbin, Changchun Shenyang, Fujian Nanjing, Chongqing, Tianjin, Harbin, Changchun, Shenyang, Fujian, Nanjing, Wuhan, Hefei, Chongqing and Xi'an. It was not until the evening of September 27 that they returned to Lanzhou City, Gansu Province. This time he woke up in his own yard, and it was September 28th. This is the general process of Huang Yanqiu's 3 mysterious disappearances, and when I searched for information, I found that Huang Yanqiu's experience was not an isolated case. In the Notes on Yue Thatched Cottage, written by Ji Xiaolan in the Qing Dynasty, a strange flight incident in Laizhou, Shandong was recorded. This incident happened to the grandfather of the prefect of Liao at that time. The old man was in his 80s, and his legs and feet were not neat. He said that one morning, the servant was serving the old man on the reclining chair in front of the house, and basking in the sun, but who knew that when the servant returned after the room took something, the old man and the reclining chair under him disappeared out of thin air. The family searched everywhere for a whole day, but could not find any trace of the old man. This man seemed to have disappeared out of thin air. A friend of Lin Jifu, who had just returned from Laozan, told him that he had seen the old man when he returned from Laozan in the morning, and when Lin Jifu rode a fast horse to Laozan, he really found the old man there. Strangely enough, that's what happened. You must know that Laizhou is more than 100 kilometers away from Laozan, and you have to run for a whole day on horseback. The old man just disappeared at the door of Laizhou's house in the morning, and the friends saw him in Laozan. According to the description of the old man, he was lying on a chair when he was suddenly carried by two people into the air and flew to Laozan. In addition, in the Sui Jianji, written by Yuan Haowen at the end of the Jin dynasty and the beginning of the Yuan dynasty, there is also a similar story. When the wind was strong and there was an old man blocking it on the road, 4 of the villagers turned back when they saw this, but another villager insisted on going up the mountain. At this moment, a gust of wind blew, and the villager felt that he was being stolen in the air. Flight. The man took the villagers to a temple to drink with a large group of people. After the wind stopped, the villagers walked out of the temple to ask questions, only to find that they were in Dongping County, hundreds of miles away. Then the villager returned home after begging all the way for several days. Since there are also records of related events in ancient books, it means that UFOs' visit to the Earth has existed since ancient times. This is very rare information for the study of aliens. At that time, after the Into Science program team had a detailed understanding of the Huang Yanqiu incident, they even took Huang Yanqiu himself to do a mental examination and a polygraph test. But considering the Chinese government's decades of atheism awareness formed propaganda, and finally let it go. Because although there are a large number of witnesses and indirect evidence about Huang Yanqiu's mysterious disappearance, it is a pity that the vital telegram cannot be found because of its age. But everyone said that the telegram does exist, and UFO enthusiasts feel that this is the case. It really happened, and it was believed that the aliens who flew 3 times behind Huang Yanqiu's back were aliens. Because there was no concept of hype at that time, Huang Yanqiu and those people had no need to lie about it. From the perspective of today's technology, Huang Yanqiu was not sitting in an airplane or a high-speed rail at that time, but was completely exposed to the air and flew all over the country in just a few hours. Totally impossible. Dr. Zeng followed up investigations in recent years. After interviewing people around Huang Yanqiu, they said that Huang Yanqiu was not in the village at that time, and he was criticized. In addition, there is a very important fact that Huang Yanqiu had some problems after the incident. An obvious change. In the past, he always lost at poker, but now he always wins every bet at the poker table, leaving them puzzled. Dr. Zeng's comments. Huang Yanqiu's story can be said to be a case that I have been following and participating in the investigation and discussion for decades. Although it is not necessarily confirmed that aliens did it, it did happen. In the extreme poverty of the countryside in the 1970s, a farmer's income was only a few dozen yuan a year, and even going out to visit the next county town required a government certificate. In the case of the letter of introduction, Huang Yanqiu traveled thousands of kilometers in his sleep in one day. This is an unbelievable fact, and the possibility of forgery is extremely small. First, in the 1970s, the Chinese government imposed strict supervision on the travel activities of ordinary people. If there is no official permission for the letter of introduction, if you go out without permission, you will be interrogated by the Public Security Department or even imprisoned. After the Huang Yanqiu incident, the local Handan municipal government called the Revolutionary Committee to conduct a comprehensive investigation of Huang Yanqiu and related personnel several times. With the file, no fraud was found. Second, from the 1970s to the present, people from all walks of life have been investigating Huang Yanqiu's case for decades. Almost no one found that Huang Yanqiu lied because of this, and everyone in the village knew about it. Among them, the most famous is LV Qintang and his son, who went out of the village as the main parties in the Huang Yanqiu case. LV Qintang is the main leader of the Shanghai Anti-Aircraft Artillery Unit. The 1970s was the era when all politics was in command. The third is about the motives of this matter. For decades, Huang Yanqiu did not get much benefit from this matter. In the 1970s, there was no concept of traffic, and propaganda of feudal superstition may even lead to prison. The most important thing is that this happened when he and his fiancée were preparing to get married. Because of this, his fiancée terminated the marriage, which was an unbearable loss locally. In the end, Dr. Zheng put forward a clue. According to Lu Haisheng, Huang Yanqiu and the two people who took him with him came to the barracks post wearing ill-fitting military uniforms, but they disappeared when they arrived at Lu Haisheng's house. The most bizarre thing was the sentry arrived at his house within seconds, normally at least a few minutes. Of course, according to Dr. Zheng's years of research, it is also possible that it was not done by real aliens, or it was a Taoist traditional escape technique that existed in ancient China. The highest level of escape techniques can take people to fly? This requires further follow-up. I will introduce the case of Yang Degui in the next episode of Escape Technique in detail. Well, that's all for today, and we'll be featuring some of China's most incredible stories every week. I hope everyone will support. Welcome to discuss. Remember to subscribe to encourage us to continue to create. Thank you.